Several years ago, on the anniversary of the September 11th disaster, National Public Radio's oral history project, StoryCorps, broadcast the story of John Viggiano, a retired New York City firefighter who lost two sons at the World Trade Center, Joe, a police officer, and John Jr., a firefighter like himself. When the younger son, Joe, was 17, he started dating a young woman whose father was a police officer. Joe admired his girlfriend's father and was inspired to take the police test. Joe Sr. was shocked. "Son," he said, "you're only 17 years old." To which Joe replied, "No big deal." John Jr., on the other hand, did not start out wanting to be a fireman. Rather, he wanted to be a millionaire, the next Donald Trump. And as a man of means, he would take care of his mother and father. But then his father came down with throat cancer, and John Jr. saw how his father's fire company rallied around him and gave him support. John Jr. was moved by this and changed vocational goals, deciding to become a firefighter like his dad. John Viggiano was close to his two sons and would talk to them by phone nearly every day. Around 3:30 p.m. on September the 10th, 2001, John spoke to John Jr. The call ended with John saying, "I love you," and his saying, "I love you too." The next morning, when the first plane hit, Joe was called to the World Trade Center. He phoned his father on the way, telling him what was happening. That call also ended with, "I love you." John Viggiano closed his story by saying, "We had the boys for John for 36 years, Joe for 34 years. I don't have any coulda, shoulda, wouldas. I wouldn't have changed anything. It's not many people that the last words they said to their son or daughter was, 'I love you.'" Even in his grief, Joe Viggiano is at peace because the last words he ever spoke to his sons were, "I love you." You could even say he has a harvest of righteousness. God's first word and God's last word about us is, "This is my child, my beloved, in whom I delight." And so because of that blessing, when we open our mouths to speak to our neighbors, our children, our loved ones, the people who cross our paths every day, we're empowered to speak words of gentleness and peace, mercy and blessing.